Some of the most serious objections against Christianity really are objections against the Bible itself. You may have heard people say that the Bible that we have today, it's not the same as the Bible is when it was first written. You may have heard people say, well, you can't trust what the Bible had to say. I mean, after all, these men had a theological or a political agenda in their writings, so you can't really trust it to be true. In dealing with the truth claims of Christianity, we have to be able to answer this question. Can we trust the New Testament? Well, fortunately, the answer is yes. But what evidences can we bring to demonstrate that we really can trust the New Testament? In dealing with this issue, we're really dealing with two different sides of the same coin. The first is this. Is the text that we have today, is that really the same as when it was first written? The second issue is, can we really trust what the authors were writing? Weren't they just liars? Now, in dealing with that first issue, the reliability of the text, that it's the same today as it was when it was first written, we're really going to look at the manuscript evidence. Now, a manuscript is simply a document that's written by hand. And what we're going to point to is the dating and the number of the manuscripts of the New Testament as compared to other ancient documents. When we look at the evidence, a pretty convincing case emerges that the New Testament that we have today really is the same as when it was first written. Take, for example, these different ancient texts. When we look at the dating of these, there's an average span of about 1,000 years between the original and the earliest copy of those texts. When you compare that with the New Testament, we have an entirely different picture. In fact, when it comes to the New Testament, we have fragments of papyri dating within 100 years of the originals. Not only that, but we have copies of whole books of the New Testament that date within 100 to 150 years. In fact, the earliest copy of the entire New Testament comes within a span of 200 to 250 years within the writings of the original. The fact of the matter is that when it comes to evidence, we have very early attestation to the original books of the New Testament. But this is not the only thing. Look here at the number of manuscripts of these ancient texts. Now, when you consider the number of manuscripts of these other ancient documents and compare that with the number of manuscripts of the New Testament blows the rest out of the water. In fact, we have over 6,000 manuscripts in Greek of the New Testament. And to illustrate how forceful this evidence is, consider the words of skeptic Helmut Koester. Classical authors are often represented by but one remaining manuscript, but there are nearly 5,000 manuscripts of the New Testament in Greek. The manuscript tradition of the New Testament begins as early as the 2nd century CE. Thus, it seems that New Testament textual criticism possesses a base which is far more advantageous than that for the textual criticism of classical authors. Regarding all of these manuscripts, the percentage of accuracy across these manuscripts is astounding. Some scholars place the accuracy as much as 99.9% accurate. As Dr. Norman Geisler says, that's more pure than a bar of soap. But even by liberal estimates, the text of the New Testament is 92% accurate, and none of the 8% which differs has any variant that impinges on some theological doctrine. The fact is that the text that we have today is the same as the text as it was first written. But is it trustworthy? Can we actually trust what the authors wrote? Well, consider these 2 points. First of all, within the texts themselves, the authors of these texts include embarrassing details about themselves. For example, we know that when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, facing death and betrayal, he asked his disciples to watch and pray. And what did they do? They fell asleep. How do we know that? Because they included it in their work. If they were lying to us, they probably wouldn't have included these kinds of details. But secondly, and probably more forcefully, is the fact that none of these authors denied what they had to say, even to the point of death. Now, it's true, not all of the apostles died. John the apostle is said not to have died, but he was thrown alive into a vat of oil, but he still didn't recant. The fact of the matter is is that the testimony of these individuals, the writers of the New Testament, they give us no reason not to trust what they have to say, not to trust at least that they believe that it was true. Now, how does this affect us as Christians? Well, first of all, we can trust that the Lord's promises regarding salvation and regarding the future are true and they will come to pass. This Christmas, as you reflect on the truths that are written in the New Testament, I pray that you elevate your souls to worship and that you rest confidently in the truth of the New Testament. Merry Christmas.